My days are over cause I'm where she needs to be. I remind myself my age, 20-something in a day. Know that nothing lasts forever, but I'm where I need to be. From the way they talking, I'm the highest original. On my way to cut the highest divisional. All my life I've been in touch with the spiritual. Back then before I rose in the physical, felt some unrequited love with the cynical. Remember back from the start of elementary, my white socks blood stained with crooked ivory. A little young and dreaming what I wanna be. Oh Lord, take my knees so I will see defeat.
I'm taking flight this game time. I'm good and bad at the same time. They calling me on the main line. Coming straight from T2 with crime. Yeah, I got that new design. Baby girl gon' shake that thing, praying up to the rain god. Splash. Won't find this at Fifth Ave. Yeah, they know I'm big bag. Competition get mad. Yeah, I got them lined up. Yeah, I'm going Six Flags. Yeah, I'm on my rich dad, poor dad. Tell them listen what the source said. No, we ain't at Publix, but they going boys head. Look at what the floor did. Tell me what a force is. Tell me how could I sit back and watch you do some more of this? Question call.
She gets me high. I'm so high. I just wanna She gets me high.
We just coolin', getting high. She brought the bomb, we got that ganja. Land on the grass, feel some space. Surrounded by nature, we feeling great. I rolled the leaf up, then we opened the dimensions. What a relief to release all the tension. Talk about experiences, crystal the clarity. Higher the frequency, play with some visions. You know we don't gotta smoke to get high. We just indulge in the earth for the vibes. Diving in mystery, channeling energy. It's my intentions to open your mind.
Ascending levels like a Super Saiyan. I'm in the game no matter who was playing. Discipline creates the motivation. I'ma make it because my mama praying. I got goals, some of them I'm not saying. Don't want the negative and the manifestation. Say it amongst myself, that's for the creation. Then bring it forth, imagine a vibration. Well connected, decked out in William Taylor. I draw the checks out, then get to the paper. You'll become what is your fascination. So I'm fascinated with how to generate it. Affirmative action with my affirmations. Then I watch for the signs and get the confirmation. S-class where I'm currently ranking. Maneuvering this life like Laguna Seca. Living fast, but I'm so player. Maneuvering this life like Laguna Seca.
Peace and chaos. Y'all give me a 1 in the chat to let me know y'all can hear me. Let me know if the mic is working well before we begin. Set this thing up, turn it towards me. All right. So we're back. Welcome back, all of the priests and priestesses, the Nagas, the Naginis, and welcome to a YouTube Masterclass Decode. We are coming off an excellent interview from Sunday on the Venezuelan gang decode with our brother, the Maverick Approach. Make sure y'all follow the Maverick Approach on his channel. We're going to be doing some more work with that brother in the near future, and I appreciate everyone who's putting in that work. I see y'all up in the chat. What's up, Travis? I see you up in there, man. I see Honey up in there, Elena, Keta Rising. See some familiar faces up in there. Mr. Howard Harvard Ramberg. Yes, sir. We are out here. Got some people from Pennsylvania. That's what's up. What's up, Cedric and Linlin? Yeah, we back. Y'all know what time it is. And one thing I wanted to add to that Venezuelan gang video, there was something that I sent Maverick today. Remember when someone insinuated the door next door could have been 303? It was 303. The door next door in the Venezuelan camera was 303. So whenever we have a hunch, I tell you all the time, it's more than likely what it is. So we was absolutely correct. And whoever said that, shout out to them. We was right on with that. So I wanted to let you guys know that as well. It's just hilarious how they do these things. So, and I want to make a quick announcement. We're having the Afro Indigenous Wellness and Culture Fest in Henderson, North Carolina, with the master teacher, Dr. Alim El Bey. He owns the property at 808 Cross Creek Road, Henderson, North Carolina. And we're going to be out there. I'm going to be doing a lecture out there on September 20th. We're probably going to stay to either the 21st or the 22nd. So you guys need to go over to his website here if you want to join for the Afro Indigenous Wellness and Culture Fest and come chop up game with me in person. Y'all come out there and chop up game with me in person. They're going to have a bonfire. They're going to have archery basic workshops. They're going to have all type of vendors and stuff out there. This is just some of the basic stuff, some pictures I took or clips I took from the website, but they have a lot going on between the 20th through the 22nd. It's going to be a magnificent event. And the food is so good, man. Dr. Alim Bey, he owns the vegan restaurant. I think it's called More Vegan, like Moor, like the Moors. The More Vegan restaurant is bomb. That food is great. So I can't even wait to get some of that. But y'all come down to North Carolina, September 20th, 22nd, if you're not doing nothing, and come politic and get some of this great knowledge from some of the speakers that's going to be out there. I'll be one of them. You said lucky East Coasters. Yeah, I feel bad for the people on the West Coast that were announcing this late. We are getting Dr. Alim Bey on here this upcoming Sunday. So he'll break down more of what's happening with the festival so you guys can know. Oh, somebody's in North Carolina. Travis, you're in North Carolina. Come on out, brother. Come on out, man. We would love to chop up game. But there's a lot going on. Of course, we got an excellent lecture prepared today, as always. But want to remind people from the Kalini's interview, you guys make sure you're getting your Vedic astrological readings, your sidereal Yotish readings from Kalini. Her email is KALINI astroblogger.com. Some of my moderators, please put that in the chat for people. Today we're in Amavasya, the Tithi. The Tithi is reading the moon periods. The energy of the moon is affected through the planets, which affects us emotionally and spiritually. And she's been teaching us lessons on how to discern these Tithis. So right now we're in Maga Nakshatra. That's where Trump gets all of that MAGA stuff from. And we're in Amavasya, which the last time that I spoke about, we were in Amavasya, was during the period of the eclipse in the video Eclipsemancy, the magic they do during eclipses. So this Amavasya will be in effect for the entire rest of the night. Maga Nakshatra will stay in effect till 12:20 p.m. into September 3rd. And then we'll be entering Purva Nakshatra. But Amavasya, as Kalini has put in the science of Yotish astrology, is the most auspicious time for when they do these black magic rituals. So they have to keep the gestalt of Egregores running like a circuitry. And the voltage is the attention that the masses concede to through participation in the deception, just like this voting period. Voting is participation in the deception. Now, I understand if you vote locally, you want to get certain people in office, but if you're giving too much energy out towards Kamala and Trump and stuff like that on the internet, being keyboard warriors over these Jesuit Illuminati puppets, then you're the voltage to the circuitry that they're running through the program. So we have to be very, very aware. Frankie says Aurora is where the Batman shooting. Yeah, we talked about that. Frankie, go back and watch the video we did on Venezuelan gangs. Another thing I figured out about Aurora, which is interesting before I break some of this down. I don't think I got this up here, but Aurora is the its area code is 303. So now you get, when we pulled that up yesterday, I've been telling guys about the number 33 again. The area code of Aurora is 303. So now you know why 303 is on the camera and everything connected with that. Why does my mic keep turning the other way? So yeah, you guys got to understand that part of it. But yeah, it's all energy harvesting, man. This thing is all about energy harvesting. Excuse me if y'all hear my son in the background. 2-year-old, you guys know how it goes. But the matrix in truth, it is not the physical body that is enslaved to inorganic beings, but rather the energy body. That's what they're after, family. Turn this mic again. The matrix mythos, it works because, according to the sorcerer's interpretation at least, the energy body is the true self, of which the physical body is but a dreamlike projection. Our master teachers used to tell us that. However solid it may seem to be, according to these sorcerers, the physical body is really no more than a shell or receptacle for the energy body to reside in. And it is the pure energy or plasma, which is essentially pure awareness, that the inorganic beings of occult lore are said to be fed upon. So the physical body is strictly for the birds and the worms. To create the matrix, there's subtle energies that are manipulated to keep up or to put down the vibration level. And they put down this vibration level at these threshold rates. And when they do that, it generates influence or controls the Earth's vibration level through the influence. So the controlled vibrations hold down, or it lifts up the frequency of the vibration. So there's a possibility of the powerful use of the matrix is the strengthening of the powers of the negative ley lines. So you have positive, negative ley lines, just like duality. Everything has a duality. And these ley lines are structured in a isocahedral form. And these icosahedral forms are used for focusing specific celestial events. And these events come through ritual. That's why if you look into 303 Aurora, it may be on a negative ley line or a dragon path. We have to study that stuff. It's in the book Gaia Matrix, you know. Thanks for putting that in there, Adonijah. So the energy of the cosmos are in the ley lines and the megalithic structures around us. And at certain times, this energy can be benevolent. At other times, I hate saying the word energy over and over. Let's just say the effervescence, another word for energy, can be malevolent and harmful. So crossing of ley lines create vortexes. That's why they select certain places, family. When they cross these ley lines, it's creating vortexes that can raise or decrease the intensity of the subtle energy matrix in which we are imprisoned. So that's the science in a nutshell of that. But some of the key names for the cosmic mother who creates the womb for the matrix is Barbalite, Shekinah, some people pronounce it the Shekinah in the Judaic text, or the Asherah, the wife of God, Babylonian text, Sophia in the Gnostic text, many other names. Aset, one of her original names is Aset or Typhon. These are the names of the cosmic creator energies to the cosmic womb. And the womb constitutes a metaphor for generation and was thus used in the ancient Mediterranean world to talk about the origins of the universe. So it is then only natural when we talk about the Gnostics, and this is coming out the book, The Sun Lady Unveiled. I spoke about this book before, but it says in The Sun Lady Unveiled, in an excerpt, that the Gnostics had reservations about the goodness of the cosmos and its origins, which were known to characterize the evil demiurge not as a male lion-faced demon, but a womb. And Irenaeus of Lyons, that's the guy that petitioned on part of the Catholic Church to deem the Gnostics evil. They took it to court. And that's when the heresy, the heretic laws was established. But in the 2nd century CE, he accused others who say they claim kinship to Cain, Esau, and the Sodomites of pursuing the goal of dissolving the works of the womb, whom they call the creator of heaven and earth. And like the followers of Carpocrates, he continues that these individuals, dubbed the Cainites by scholars, consider their unlawful sexual practices to be divinely ordained, implying that they consider a antinomian sex a chief means to dissolving the works of the womb. So the word womb, as Sophia Stewart, the creator and owner of the Matrix in the Terminator series, told us that Matrix means womb. Another reason why they came out with that new Terminator Zero. I'm gonna have to look into that on Patreon for you guys. But the elite have learned from the esoteric mythos of creation and destruction, which we're here to talk about evil today. You can't understand evil without creation and destruction. And they've set their sights on destroying this world via nuclear holocaust. That was what the whole Fallout series was about. But I also showed you in other videos like Under Space Decoded what this whole Fallout was about. And she has the 33 on the back about them building these vaults after a nuclear holocaust. If there was a World War III and they dropped nuclear bombs everywhere, how it would affect everyone in the elite would go underground into these vaults. But that is generally what they're trying to incite, is nuclear warfare. It doesn't matter who's the president. They're controlled, as we know. We're very advanced people over here. But they've set their sights on this. And what they're doing now is using artificial intelligence to lull the masses asleep into a secondary womb outside of this physical matrix called augmented digital reality. And that's what we're moving into towards 2030, Agenda 2030, and the Neuralink that Elon Musk is getting ready to have humans accept. It's putting a chip in their head, which the evil series, the evil CBS series that we're breaking down today, that's what the last episode was about, the Neuralink chip. So this digital augmented reality that they're preparing for people to enter, so you could become anyone you want, any race you want, any sex you want, gender you want. You become all of these things, is a part of the real evil that's coming. And speaking of wombs, there's a picture that just came out. They had Cardi B in this new music video. I think it was a photo shoot for the music video, not sure. But someone realized that this word spelled out the PDF file. Those of you who know what that is, put it in the chat. We beat a strike, family. I meant to say that. We beat a strike on the channel, and they took down the Alchemizing Energy interview, but it's back up. So you guys make sure you double back and watch that interview. That was a heavy interview. Don't sleep on that interview. We went into a lot of info on that. But I got on my Johnny Cochran because they were talking about me speaking on specific nano things. Not going to say it again, but I typed up what I meant, and I went and got some scientific articles, plugged in my sources, and within a week, they put the video back up and said they were sorry. I was right. So I think that's the first time that I beat the YouTube controllers at their own game. Yeah, appreciate that. Hard to find. You said, what interview was it again? It's called Alchemizing Energy. You guys got to come on, go on my channel, click the live videos. I go live a lot. I don't do a lot of uploading old videos. I might start doing that in the future, but that's just not the energy right now. I like to go live and experience the audience. I like the pressure to be on me to perform, to come out here in front of you all and do a spectacular job. But yeah, they got Cardi B with this. They got the PDF file. And then she responded. She said, first of all, we literally picked a random street. That's a lie. The controllers made her pick where she was going to go because paparazzi was hounding us everywhere. This was supposed to be my original first picture, and we had to edit the photos in minutes because the shoot got leaked. Didn't even have time to go over every detail because people were busy trying to expose my pregnancy as aha moments. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Second, I'm always with the shits, but I'm not using my maternity shoot to be funny. Are you dumb? But it says a little weird. You have a term like that in the background for a maternity shoot, don't you think? So that they got PDF file. Those of you who knows what that means, you know what it means. So, but it's interesting to have her pregnant, the womb. And I'm going to speak about the Woman of Babylon programming. Cardi B is one of their Women of Babylon. They're just cloning Lilith over and over with these female characters. They even did it in this new movie that came out on Netflix this weekend or last week. I think it was last week, called the Deliverance with Monique in it. All Babylon programming. We'll get into that today as well. But speaking about augmented realities, did you guys catch this? Katrina put this in our Skype group chat. Shout out to Katrina and everyone who's in that original Skype group. Those are the fam. But she was like, have you guys heard of this new AI hugging new program they brought out? There's a TikTok trend that's starting right now of hugging your younger self digitally. Speaking about that digital womb. Real crazy stuff. Y'all say I don't know what a PDF is. Hilarious. But an NPC doesn't need flesh to exist, family. A NPC doesn't need flesh to exist. And Adonijah brought up a good point in the Skype group chat that it kind of looked like they were mimicking what I gave to you guys in the first video on this new YouTube. What I said in Umbra Kinesis. Got to go back and review that video about how meditation, everything we're trying to do with the mental aspect of our energy body is trying to stop the chaotic mind and slow the infra consciousness down enough for the super consciousness to pave a way to higher understanding, which is called growth. So they're creating an artificial disguise of yourself so you can pass or bypass the work that you have to do in meditation to actually meet up with a younger version of yourself that I put in Umbra Kinesis that you have to hug these pent up energies in you from your childhood to usurp and become the higher self. There's a lot of things that you're holding on from childhood, from what your parents told you, from the trauma you experienced at a younger age. And you have to go into meditation mentally in those mental spheres, the astral plane, and hug or quote unquote relieve that younger self that still exists inside of you. That younger self is still in you. You see? So, understanding meditation, our meditation is a clear state of thought, wherein that we are silently exercising the power of the mind to think upon or about itself. Mediumship is the awareness and the openness to experience that which comes to us from the world of spirit. This means that during meditation, things will present themselves to our mind and they will ask us to be open to them and they will invite us to experience them. That simple mediumship. So for you, we are becoming more aware of the dimensions of being which are within our mind. And we are becoming more and more aware of the powers of the spirit as they make known to you what is really happening in the world of mind. And spirit is the most exciting experience which man can undertake. So go get a book called Cosmic Meditation. Get a book called Cosmic Meditation. If you don't know on this channel, I'm going to give you a lot of scholarship. It's by Michael Berdio. Moderators, put that in the chat for me so they can find that. This is the book right here. LibrL.com, Cosmic Meditation. It's $200, but you can get the maybe I need to upload the PDF file on Patreon. I'll do that this week. We'll upload the PDF so you can get it for free. But if you want to buy, you see how much it is. They ain't playing no games with this work. We the only ones playing games with it. These people pay top dollars for this information, and we get on YouTube and Patreon every week and do it for free or for $5. Yeah. See what you guys saying in the chat. Right. Inner child archetypes. Right, Howard. Said meditation removes the senses of this dimension. Right. Says that the same thing David Lynch does? Yeah, transcendental meditation, Alabama Wyatt. That's what he does. It's a form of cosmic meditation. So what they're doing, they're stripping the powers of the spirit and letting the AI program render us down to a automation like machines. That's what they're doing with this app. So these are steps that they're taking in Agenda 2030 to prepare the soul for transhumanism. And that's what the new TV series Evil ended on. As I said, it was abrupt how they ended it. But the creators, Robert and Michelle King, they spoke out about it. But it's about connecting the 60 demonic houses to Neuralink. They even showed a picture. I'll go back to this. But they were looking into the demonic houses. Every demonic house connects to a different sensation in the brain. So every sigil, you see how this looks like the Goetia from King Solomon's Lesser Key? Every sigil connected to another demonic house. And every time David and the assessors from the church were investigating these demonic infestations or possessions, they were figuring out it was connected to one of these sigils each time. And they were trying to basically do an exorcism and get rid of the infestation. But there's a lot of layers to it because they figured out that the church was connected to it. So there's 60 demonic houses to Neuralink. And in the show, they were giving away the script that the elite in the future will be able to upload a NPC program. As I said, it's happening right now with the electric encephalogrammic cloning, a form of hypnotism and mesmerism, but they're gonna have another version of it with Neuralink, and they'll be able to go into the minds of the masses and make it easier to assimilate and organize the evil that they're constructing, because the whole show is about the church figuring out that evil has found a way to organize itself. That's what's happening. They're telling us that these people around the world who have very evil ideals are coming together to work together right now. That's what the WEF is all about. But we're going to get into that. Speaking of evil, did you guys see the new TV series that came out called Deliverance? The Deliverance, Heavy Rituals. I had to watch it today. That's how much work I was doing today, fam. I had to watch this today, break it down, because I wanted to have this for you guys, because this is the biggest movie probably on Netflix right now. While I'm taking my notes to finish up what I was doing for the Evil series, we want to have a thorough breakdown today. Said Bobby Hemmett gave you over 100 books to look up. Right. I'm not on Bobby's level, but I'm gonna give you some books. You said you saw it today. It was terrible. Said it jumped out at you. Yeah. In the movie, what they're talking about, that first of all, Monique is still participating with the gestalt of the Egregores. Monique, when she went on Club Shay Shay, which we talked about Club Shay Shay and that name, and she was crying out about these black TV producers not giving her or screwing up her shot in Hollywood. She wants to be a part of Hollywood. She wants to be with the people. She wants to make that money. And she's playing a character named Cynthia Henry. She's like a DSS, the people that come by your house and check on your kids and write up reports because of your past history. You have some type of bad history with your kids. The social services decide whether you're fit to be a parent. She was playing one of them people. It kind of made her neutral in the whole movie, but I got the numbers. I did the gematria to look into it. But you said you can't watch any of that stuff. How do you protect your subconscious? Well, this is what I've been telling people, because people have been coming to my posts on Facebook saying, you're always pointing out Illuminati stuff and demonic stuff. It means you're a part of it because you let it festate and shit like that. I'm like, bro, listen, I break this shit down so people don't look, or people can look at it a different way, and other people don't feed into the bullshit. So instead of looking at it as I'm posting it every week and it looks like I'm obsessed with it or something, you can look at it as I'm doing a service to show people that it's happening and breaking it down how it's happening. But to people that ask, one, I would say, if your frequency is on a certain level, they can't infiltrate you. But watching a movie isn't going to ever infiltrate me. Maybe it could infiltrate you. I don't know what type of trauma you've been through, but that's why I set up consultations. I've been doing it for 8 years. I'm going to be doing consultations this week got some requests this week to help strengthen your spiritual capabilities. Spirituality means a person who is able to see the world through the spirit instead of your senses, your physical senses. You see it through the spirit. But to see through the spirit, you have to strengthen it. Some of us are born with a good placement of Saturn, Mercury in that 8th house in our astrology chart. So we come spirit ready. We come as spirit warriors. We come with understanding of the occult before we even get a class on the occult. We knew it was some bullshit from the start. So this decoding I do, right, dark magic, this demystifying of all of the nonsense is acute to help you see through things and understand it and process, and even from a sense of understanding what the world is doing through the hologram. When they actually force us in something like a pandemic or something, you're spiritually ready when it actually can touch you. See, we were telling people about things way before 2020, but when it finally touched people, you guys should have seen my last channel. People were flooding that channel trying to get information because they didn't think it could touch them. They didn't think that the hologram, this matrix, these elitists could do something to actually touch and affect their life. But if you're building up your meditation, you're building up your energy bodies, you're connecting to your super consciousness, you're raising up your infra consciousness, you're preparing, and you're going to be in a whole other state that's not going to be affected emotionally by something of such a low frequency as a movie, is what I mean, or a happening. Yeah, change your perspective, change your reality. We are reality engineers. That's what a Naga, Nagini is. A reality engineer. The Naga, the serpent, is the waveform. The waveform makes it takes on the form of a serpent moving. It's science, it's physics. And when you can understand waveform symmetry, you get another language. You start to understand another language. You ever heard someone speak in another language you don't understand and you don't know what the fuck they're talking about? Imagine if reality was like that. If reality, they could be speaking in English, but they could be having something right in front of you with symbolism that you never looked into. It's called occultism. Hidden knowledge is what the word occult means. And because you haven't looked into it, or you don't know the etymology of certain words, the illuminatics of certain things, then it goes right over your head. You see what I'm saying? You said, do you think Bobby will come back? Why do y'all want him to come back? Why would y'all want Bobby to come back? Bobby put out thousands of videos. I don't want Bobby to, honestly. Bobby can retire and enjoy his life. He can retire. Now, I did let out some information on Patreon about some things going on with Bobby. So you have to go look that up, but I'm not going to discuss that on YouTube strictly for this type of thing. So the movie Deliverance. First of all, the movie comes out August 16th. It leaves 137 days in the year. You remember I taught you that the Masonic compass is set at 47 degrees and it's squared at 90 degrees. If you add 47 plus 90, I just taught this again on Patreon. You add these two together, you get 137. This movie came out with 137 days left in the year. Now, if you didn't know this graphic, if I didn't teach you this right here, you wouldn't know the significance of the number 137 is connected to Freemasonry. Matter of fact, Freemasonry equals 137. I showed on the Venezuelan gang video. Numbers have a language as well. You know, I broke down how 1 through 9 numerically is the astral plane. Double-digit numbers is the physical manifestation of the astral plane. And the triple-digit numbers are actually hyperdimensional. They're affecting even the astral plane. So all of this stuff is contingent to how they bring form to situations and circumstances of things connected to the ley lines, connected to the stars, back into our consciousness through numbers, which I've taught on this channel that numbers is vibrations brought to scale and given a symbol to measure the vibrational output of the scaling. Go look up my class on gematria. I did like 2-hour class, and I did like 3-hour classes on gematria to break down where did the word number originate in ancient civilizations. I took you through the Chaldeans, all the way back to the Egyptians. We're going to be talking about the Chaldean gematria cipher today. So get your notebook ready. Yeah, I just mentioned Tracy Twyman's book earlier, Hard to Find. That's Sun Lady Unveiled. That's Tracy Twyman's last book. That's another book you guys need to get. The Sun Lady Unveiled. Tracy Twyman, Alexander Rivera. I'm good friends with Alexander Rivera. So 137 days left in the year. The Deliverance comes out. Monique's character, Cynthia Henry equals 69. And if I typed in the Masonic Arch, you will notice that in the symbolism of the Masonic Arch, you'll see the 69 in Cancer. And the movie was about a mother trying to support 3 kids while her mother, which is the grandmother of the kids, had cancer. And it was a white woman. Her name was, she's famous for the character Corella in 101 Dalmatians. And 101 Dalmatians is also gematria and metaphysical. But there's a woman named Glenn Close. Let me pull up her picture. They did the ultimate ritual on Glenn Close in this movie. And I think that she's supposedly, they're getting ready to do something with her. You heard it on this channel. I don't like speaking down on people, but there's something with the numerology of what they did with her in this movie. And the things that they had her say in the movie. Very vile stuff. The whole movie was vile, by the way. It was a big ritual on the melanated woman, as they always do. But Glenn Close, they did some things with her. We even got the cross in it. Go watch my video on the metaphysical history of crosses on YouTube. Break that down for you. But the person who put out the movie is a gay man named Lee Daniels. Now, the cipher you have to look into for this decode primarily, there's other ciphers, but Lee Daniels equals 249 in primes gematria. Okay? Lee Daniels. Now go to the date duration calculator. And this, of course, the people who are watching the movie were looking for Monique. Who got blackballed out of Hollywood. And she's been on all of these podcasts and stuff talking about how she got blackballed. Okay. So Monique's birthday is on December 11th, and this we're talking about 2023, right before 24. The movie came out on August 16th, 2024. Now, she's been in a beef with Lee Daniels over the last couple of years because supposedly he didn't pay her some money or something. I don't know, whatever the gossip is. But you notice that the movie comes out 249 days after her last birthday. And Lee Daniels, who gave her the role of the movie, is 249. You can just look up the article. Type in Lee Daniels, Monique makes up. Director Lee Daniels apologizes to Monique, ending 13-year feud following an Oscar win. It's one article. And recently he came out August 21st, it says. Lee Daniels apologized to Monique for the precious feud. Even if I didn't understand what I was apologizing for. So that's them for the movie. So it's connected to Lee Daniels, 249. Now, the movie came out 33 weeks after Lee Daniels' birthday. So there's the 33. So that's that connection. But I want to focus on Glenn Close. Hold on, I'm going ahead of myself. Glenn Close in gematria, her name equals 106. That's what I noticed immediately. If you don't understand 106, the word 106 is tied to the word black. Because it's a black movie and it's about her being a white woman pursuing black men. You just got to watch the movie to understand that. And you remember on BET, Black Entertainment Television, which was given to black people, there was a hip hop, the most famous hip hop show was called 106 in Park. 106 in Park. Y'all remember the show 106 in Park? The reason why they used 106 in Park, it means black in park. Black show. It's rituals. Say Divine Femme Energy says, I've never seen so many horror movies with melanated people in them. You know what, Divine Femme Energy, you're right. Do you remember when I sent you that video? I sent Divine Femme Energy a video a couple weeks ago on the what was it called? The Lovecraft Country breakdown with Ajanu Ellis in it. You notice that she was the Christ figure in this movie and they sacrificed her. That was some crazy stuff. Yeah, Free and AJ. Lovecraft Country was good. Lovecraft Country was very good. A lot of occult stuff in it. I mean, of course, the right doesn't like it. They'll call it DEI type stuff. But yeah, that's what they did. I know you haven't seen the movie, but they did that. But it's because of what she became in Lovecraft Country. Let me pull that up real quick. What is her name? Ajanu Ingenue Ellis, Lovecraft Country. I think she played Hippolytus. But she became the great mother in the movie. She was able to time travel in the movie. She was time traveling to different periods. And she transformed into this celestial being. They have a picture of it. They may not have a picture, but this is her when she took on the energy of her higher self. But she transformed into this being. She even like created the time travel. She was like the circuit to open up the portal to the time travel machine that was in the film, but they're not showing the being. Seraphina. Okay, let me look it up. Let me look up Seraphina. Yeah, Seraphina was her higher self. That was her higher self right here. So she had already did a role where she was a higher self. In this movie, The Deliverance, she was the prophet and the evangelist to get rid of this evil in this house. Now, the house is based on a former movie called Demon House. There was another movie called Demon House you can watch to get another backstory. It says Zach Baggins, the host of Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures, wrote and directed Demon House. The second film from 2004 is based on mass hysteria surrounding the 2014 alleged demonic possession of Gary, Indiana, the Ammons family. Now, Ammons is the name of a demon. Ammon was the name of not a demon, it was the name of a daemon. The daemons in Egyptian mythology were called Ammons or Ammons. Later becomes the god Amun-Ra. Well, Amun means hidden god. But the movie is based on this woman named Latoya Ammons, who had a real demonic infestation in her house in Gary, Indiana. It could be Mammon, but could be. Yeah, I've been talking about Ammon Hill for the last couple of months. Ammon Hill is doing some good work. Yeah, Brian, diversity, equity, and inclusion is another word they made up, or another term they made up. So let me show you some stuff. First of all, going back to Glenn Close, because they had her messed up in the movie. This is her when she got possessed by Satan or Lucifer. This is the ritual they did on her. Her name's Morgan in the movie. Now, they had her portraying all of these ghetto stereotypes and being a horrible mother, which spawned another horrible mother, which is played by Andra Day. The movie comes out 21 weeks, 3 days after her March 19th birthday. Remember, I showed you that death equals 213 in satanic gematria. So could this be a sacrifice indication? That's why I said that earlier. 21 weeks, 3 days from her next birthday. They got it primed and set up for it. So we got to keep an eye on that. But the movie is about this single black mother who ran all of her her baby father's away because of the emotion she was going through. I don't know exactly. Well, I guess what she went through with her white mother, because she's biracial, half white, half black. And she got these black kids. And supposedly she had abused them from drinking. She moved them out of the area they were in to, I forgot what it, she moved them to another state. I guess it would be Gary, Indiana, but I don't know if they made it that in the movie, but they probably didn't want to get sued. But she moves and goes into this house. The house is infested with demonic energies, and it starts to clinch to her and her kids. So they start to become demonically influenced. They start doing things, you know, doing all type of stuff. And Monique is the social worker. She's witnessing all of this. She's supposed to be helping. Her name is Ebony Jackson. She's supposed to be helping Ebony acclimate herself to the new home, even though she didn't tell her that she moved. So it's a lot of crazy stuff. Now, when the kids start becoming demonically possessed, and they portrayed the melanated family very horrible. You know, Lee Daniels should be ashamed of himself, because the stuff that they do in these movies sometimes with this new leftist, liberal type of approach to black movies is ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. You might catch 1 out of 50 melanated families acting the way that they did in this movie, because they exaggerate things. They exaggerate black stereotypes to the 100th degree, which is ridiculous. I hate when they do that. Like, just make it plain and simple. You said it's rare you hear demonic possession stories happening to black people. Yeah. So they were showing the boy who was possessed. And remember, I did my movie. I mean, not my movie. I'm sorry. I did my video on the ravens and the crow. How ravens and the crow is the same family bird species. He was seeing a dead crow. And the first time he saw the crow was when he became possessed. And then the movie came out, The House of Usher, about a crow having a demonic spirit in it and taking the form of this woman in presenting a Luciferian deal for a guy to sell his family to become rich, give away the lives of his family. And when they became old, it came and claimed his whole lineage. It killed everybody in the family itself. I think one person, I think it killed everybody. Yeah, The Fall of the House of Usher. And remember, this year they're coming out with The Crow, 2024. They came out with the movie The Crow, I think a couple of days ago. Got the Illuminati eye on his chest. They ain't playing no games. I've been telling y'all for a year and a half about the raven and the symbology. It represents on the Qliphoth a Rabzorak. Did a video on a Rabzorak. So everyone knows the Kabbalah, but do you know the Qliphoth? Do you know the demon realms or the lower realms? But they got this new guy playing the character, Brandon Lee, because in the original Crow movie, Brandon Lee, who is Bruce Lee's brother, was killed with a prop gun. He was killed with a prop gun on the set of the movie. And it was like horrific when it happened. That was like the first time an actor was killed like that, or an actor with that type of notoriety. But I knew it was a sacrifice. It was his son. Oh, my bad. His son. Okay. Bruce Lee's son. Okay. But Y'all don't know what a Rabzarak? Let me pull up a Rabzarak. A Rabzarak is on the Qliphoth. You can go on Patreon and get my whole full class on the Qliphoth and things like a Rabzarak. Let me try to pull up a picture of it. This is the Qliphoth right here. Okay, let me see if they'll show a Rabzarak. It's basically the study of darkness, blackness, which is where the Christos really is going to come from. Shadow work. This is what the Illuminati or the elite classes don't want you to get into. So they make it real dark. And even though it is dark because you're facing the trauma within you. You have to face the trauma to unlock these certain energies. Here's the full tree right here. And when you unlock those energies, it allows you to enter into your higher self, but you have to cross the bridge. You have to go through the burning sand. That's what the Qliphoth represents. This Qliphoth is also, it's saying the dark side of Venus. Because of this alternative shell of victory, this is where you'll feel like you'll lose and fail over and over. Your illusion surrounding love and lust will be tested through dark Venus, and you will begin the process of the alchemical transformation into the black sun. So the black sun isn't something bad when you read it over here. It's actually talking about in alchemy. The soul Niger within here. Says the soul Niger. Oh, this is a book on it. Hold on, somebody just trying to write a book on it. Let me see if they got the soul Niger. Yeah, there's a book called The Black Sun, The Alchemy and the Art of Darkness. That's another book you need to get. That's going to teach you and show you what the black sun is all about. And it's a psychology book because all of this is psychological. But basically, it's a phase that you have to go through called the night of the dark night of the soul, the Sol Niger. It says the Sol Niger is the black sun and can refer to the first stage of the alchemical magnum opus, the negrito, the blackness. So anytime they be using the N-word racially, they're really talking about alchemy, but somebody got the neat idea to make alchemical terms into offensive words. But that's magic as well, to take a term that means something completely different and to convert it into something that people don't understand what it means. See? All right, so we got all of that out the way. So that's what they did to the little boy. Also, they showed a Moorish figure in the church, because I'm going to talk about the Melkites today, who started the original Christendom. The pictures of the Melkites when you study history. And they made sure to put that in there so you could see that. And here's Anjanou Ellis playing the character, the prophetess Bernice James, Apostle Bernice James. In Gematria, her name equals 192. I've been talking to you about 192 the whole year, all the way back to Leave the World Behind, the Obama film, equals 192. Super Bowl, the Super Bowl, whatever Super Bowl it was, equals 92. Paint the Town Red by Doja Cat equals 192. And this was the eclipse year, the great eclipse that made the X eclipse equals 192. Now, Ingenue's Alice Taylor's birthday is on 2/21. She's speaking to the singer Andra Day or Ebony Jackson. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. She's speaking to her when they're talking at this table, and she's trying to tell them that only she can perform the right exorcism. She didn't call it an exorcism, but to get rid of this demon, because she's been battling it even back when a former family was in the house and they all got killed, well, except the mother, because we're going back to the woman of Babylon. The mother ended up killing the father, which is that whole misandrous angle towards black men and stuff they have to take in films. She takes an axe and cut and, do what she does, and the children as well. But yeah, it was some Jezebel energy. Yeah, no lie, Howard. So she plays this Christos figure. She has to go in there, and they sacrifice her too. But her birthday is, excuse me, her birthday is on February 21st, and the actor Andra Day, her name equals 221, just like her birthday. So that's why they connected both characters. I also noticed there was a 509 on the door where her son was being possessed. The N word equals 59, and Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. So you got to know what that 59 means. They're coding stuff. So I just tell you that there is Kabbalists. Lee Daniels doesn't have no power in what goes into this movie. The Kabbalist tells him what he has to put in the movie. They'll let him be the creative mind, but they come in and manipulate stuff and put stuff like this in it. Yeah, she was the singer, Andra Day. Yeah, she does look like Rihanna, I thought. Somebody says that she looks like a clone of Rihanna. I thought it was Rihanna at first. She could be Rihanna's clone. I don't know. I thought she did look like Rihanna, though. That's a good point. So then the demon possessed everybody in the house. Then she had to, matter of fact, when she gets killed, I didn't take that picture, but she gets murdered by the Lucifer or Satan possessing the little boy, because she told Andrea, whatever her name is, that she let fear take over for a second, and that's what killed her. She got scared. But when she dies, her spirit goes into Andrea Day's body, and she's able to cast it out by calling on, Jesus. I'm going to talk about that word Jesus and why they make it an emphasis in all these melanated movies to revert us back towards Jesus and stuff. We'll talk about it. But then they put the little girl, the daughter, on a cross. They had her stretched out on the cross. So they're showing you the Christos here. They even put the boy who played in Stranger Things, with a Caleb Campbell or something, Caleb something. What is his name? Caleb McLaughlin. They got him stretched out, so they're showing you this straight up right here, because everyone was possessed. So, but let me just speak about this, the angle of what they're doing with the aspect of Jesus in these films. And we're still going to get to evil. I got a massive breakdown on things for you. So this is one of them videos we take our time. So there are 9 different sects of Satanism, but the theistic and non-theistic ones are the main aspects. So just like there are numerous denominations of Christianity, one aspect that I looked into in the research I find intriguing is how frequently people report smelling sulfur both in this world and the next during demonic encounters. The reason why they're smelling sulfur is because of egregores. And if you don't know what an egregore is, it's a collective astral thought that people, when they say certain things and they believe it, they tell the next generation, they'll tell their children, this is what we believe. Then their children tells the next generation of children, and we pass it down until an energy in the astral plane makes it real in our minds. Okay. So these egregores exist in our genetics now. And they've, i.e., when I mean by they've, the egregores, when they've memorized the METAPHYSICS over generations, what happens is when we speak about big head, bug-eyed aliens for over 100 years, because 200 years ago, nobody talked about no big-eyed, bug-headed aliens, but now it's pop culture to show you grays and reptilians and stuff. They've made grays and reptilians into an egregore in a short time frame. So aliens within themselves aren't corporeal. The real aliens spoken about are far advanced hyperdimensional beings beyond the third, beyond the astral plane, beyond the third dimension in the astral plane, often interpreted as angels, demons, God, or Satan. But we learn through something called religion, the 3 Abrahamic faiths, but mainly whatever religion you're into. Religare is the Latin transliteration of religion. It means to restrict. So religion is based upon the true mythologies of the old world, but religion is its own METAPHYSICS of mythology. So it's here to restrict and control the apparatuses of the paranormal investigations of consciousness. So a belief system of that religion has become its own astral entity. So Jesus is an egregore, just as Satan is an egregore. So we're speaking about a belief system so strong within the genetics, epigenetics of people passed down through the astral plane, that it becomes a autonomous being. It becomes an entity within itself. So when people call on Jesus, most of the time, some people think that the power in the name Jesus, and I'm not saying that it doesn't have power. I'm saying that Jesus is more like an egregore, a password to probably the greatest arch demon on the planet. And I'm not calling it a demon from a sense of how you understand it through the METAPHYSICS and indoctrination of religion. I'm calling it a demon in reference to a daemon, which is a powerful energy. Now, whether these things take on form based on your conscious frequency, they can be evil. Yeah, daimon or daemon is what they call it. So what I'm saying is that demons run and flee when they hear the word Jesus, because Jesus is the most powerful egregore in the goddamn planet. It's the arch daemon. I mean, you want to call his, his real name, Yehoshua, Yeshua, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I believe those are 2 different entities or 2 different things. So what of the name Jesus, the reason why demons flee, quote unquote, if you want to call it demons in a sense of Christianity, is that they're recognizing who is the chief demon. Now, You can take that and call it sacrilegious or heresy or wherever you want to take it, but I'm trying to show you something of how to think alternatively, to look at things. Because another way you can look at it is that you call on Jesus so much that the archetype of Jesus is the same as your ancestors did when they used to call on nature spirits that the church regarded as pagan spirits. But they were using nature spirits to recognize a polytheistic value to a monotheistic one deity. And because naturally they knew that there were power in the spirits, and they just had more information in occultism or the science of the unseen than us, then they could tap into other things that the church will regard as magic or black magic or whatever. But because we're unknowing of it, we'll call it evil. We'll call it whatever, because we're ignorant of it. The only ignorance there is really, I'm going to break down evil today. By the time you leave this video, you will know what evil means. But the only evil truly that the Egyptians and ancient civilizations said existed was ignorance. Ignorance, not knowing. So these are some things to consider as we continue the video today. So one thing we have to understand is that when they speak about Lucifer or any satanic figure, the satanic figure, or in mythology, the Titans or the Enochian angels, or all of these different figures, the Anunnaki, are these rebel archetypes, these things that rebel against whatever is in power, and they start a new paradigm of thought or consciousness. That would be Prometheus in the Greek text as well. So the rebel archetype becomes the automatic enemy to God or whatever is the chief ruling deity in the time frame, because it changes so much. Today, the word God, which I've explained to people, is a Nordic Scandinavian term that means God. It means a blonde-haired deity. Literally means a blonde-haired white person or a Caucasian person as a deity, which that's how they drew their paintings. I don't blame them for drawing a Caucasian person as someone that looks like them to be the deity. Odin and these Thor figures looks like someone that would come from Scandinavia around the time frame that they were in. I don't blame that. But if we're calling on that for the opposite reason of what the word was created to be, that means that we're under black magic. We're under a dark magic of using a term, reciting the term over and over, that they actually had a different regard for that term for, and there's a different science for that term. So that's why every time we think in the Christian aspect of mind of what God and Jesus is, it has to be regarded to a Caucasian person. Exactly. Because we're calling on Caucasian people. Not to say there's nothing wrong with Caucasian people, but what I'm saying is when you manipulate history and manipulate etymology of words and tell another group of people, this is what this word means, and then the people believe you, and then when the truth comes out, the word is so ingrained into the vocabulary of how we use it. Well, now people are not going to stop using it, even if I tell them that this is what the word means. But truly, it's ingrained in you. It's become his own egregore. So is indoctrination for us to even use that term. But let's just go with that term. Whatever we could use God, we'll go with it, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you still use it. So the rebel to God becomes Satan, right? So when we're understanding that rebellion within itself, so let's take the rebel, let's take God out of the conversation. Let's just say that rebellion is an ancient monotonous insert to advert us into automation, to resuscitate our former manual control we used to have over the dashas, the planetary or the planetarium of destiny. Then we have to look at it from another angle to get its understanding if it's doing that, because rebellion in itself is the only thing that helps you recognize that you have to break out of the matrix. It's the only thing that the government fears is rebellion. Mind control solely exists because they don't want a rebellion. They want you to continue to be indoctrinated and ignorant. So they strip that even from your mind. They make you, if you go outside and you say, fuck the government, you try to run up in those Capitol buildings, whatever they did a couple of years ago, it's pretty much over for you. They have the most powerful government and they have enough mind control over the people. Even though you go outside, you say everything the government has done, you're not going to challenge it. You're not going to challenge it. You're going to abide, or somebody's going to make you abide. That's mind control. Okay. So there was an anime that came out I'm going to speak about, because if we broke down physics, let's look at the physics of this evil thing. Because evil is supposed to be the rebel aspect, or the archetype of the rebel in rebellion is the antithesis to the apparent paradigm or regime that's in power. So it's a clash, as we see here, between red fission and blue fission. But this is the physics of nuclear fission through spiritual fission that we have to discern and look at. The dichotomy of evil and good is red fission and blue fission in physics. Red signifies a more even split, and blue indicates an uneven split. So there's an anime that came out. There's an anime to look into this called Jujutsu Kaisen. I got a very close friend, probably it's my best friend. He's been into anime. I kind of got out of anime when I became an adult, but then I got back into anime later on when new productions came out, and I started to look into this this particular anime. It was kind of slow at first, but it got all right. It got pretty good. I think I'm on the 3rd or 4th season now. Not sure which one I'm on. So there's a esoteric lore to Jujutsu Kaisen that is flawless, and it's tying in the cauldron of symbolism that directs us back to the understanding of it all. Hold on, guys. Somebody's texting me. Okay, so the symbolism directs us back into understanding it all, and it's taking everything as an emphasis of what we've been teaching these past few years and putting it into a different perspective. So the series speaks about something called cursed energy. Now, I've been talking about this for a minute, that these celebrities, these people walking around, I believe, are walking curses because they're moon children or they're clones. We about to get deep right now. You watch the whole series? I don't think the whole series is done. I think they have another one. I think another season is coming out real soon. I'm trying to catch up. You said you probably clowned your homeboy in high school about this one. Yeah. I never got into Naruto, Bleach, and stuff like that. I couldn't get into it. So the series talking about this cursed energy. Cursed energy can be kinetic potential, but it's basically displaying curses as demonic deformities that have ontology, but there's a kinetic symbiosis to it with the characters, that these sorcerers are there to protect non-sorcerers, meaning the people who are unable to use their spirituality, how I interpret it, i.e. spirit equating to sight. As I always tell you, spirituality is someone who can see with the spirit to discern the circumstances of their environment. So these people somehow are infested with cursed energy, or sometimes the cursed energy comes into their space and they're unaware of it. And the sorcerers are there to protect them. Okay. So the most powerful of these sorcerers is this guy right here. His name is Satoru Gojo, who has the power. He has this power called limitlessness, the limitlessness of reality. One of the most overpowered characters probably in anime history, but he was born with something called the 6 eyes. These blue eyes. I'll talk about the color blue for, but he has the ability to slow things down towards him infinitely or infinitesimally. He can do these things. So he can use this ability. He's been passed down from former 6-eye ancestors of his. It's called the red shift and the blue shift, and it works like fission. This blue state is what evil is to the world. That's a big note right here. So the evil state is the blue state is what evil is to the world. Okay. What it does, the blue state amplifies negative energy, which amplifies the limitless state and creates a void. So it amplifies enough negative energy and is amplifying him being the limitless user and having control of what limitlessness is. And because of this amplification, a void is created. Then the universe reacts immediately to him using this technique and recognizes a foreign space created through this void. So then the universe responds, the matrix responds and creates a violent pull force to fill the void. And that's why these certain characters get ripped apart. Okay. Then you have this ability called red. Now, red is what good does for us. But when you think about the Christology or the religion, red is always associated with the evil, and blue is more of a holy type color. Even in the Judaic text, the Shekinah, the blue is like the color of the Shekinah or the robe that some of the Jewish priests wear, the Teklet color we talked about. But it's showing you that everything that we know is in reverse. So red does what good does for us. What does red do? It creates a significant amount of positive energy that does the complete opposite of what the negative energy does. It speed things up at an infinite rate away from him. So it's like divergence in water. out of a faucet. So divergence is measuring the fluid flow of what's coming out of or into a given point. And then physics is something called curl, and curl indicates how much the fluid rotates or spins around at a point. So basically, the good or positive force in your destiny can give your consciousness. Let me repeat that so you can understand it. What we're trying to explain to you through what we described in the show is that the good or positive force in your destiny has the ability to give you the consciousness to sense, or given a sense of awareness to what will impact you negatively when you are doing something that can thwart your evolution. So good is positive force in your destiny, and good can give your consciousness the sense of awareness to what will impact you negatively when you are doing something that can thwart your evolution. The evil, metaphysically, is ripping a void between you sensing with keen awareness to what's coming in and out of your karma, which is creating a void in your life in which the universe or the demiurge is programmed will create a violent energy as an aggressive attempt to compensate for your lack of awareness that created the void. And that violent energy is there to fill that space, which can rip your life apart. Yeah, we're getting deep with this stuff. You see? Put a 1 up in the chat if that makes sense. Put a 1 up in the chat if that makes sense. If not, replay the video. Okay. All right. So Gojo's eyes, also, I was looking at in my notes. His eyes is blue. And it gives you the tip to the 666 terahertz I spoke about. Blue is 666 terahertz. And remember, I gave the connection to blue and evil energy from the curse energy. And I be, you know what? Speaking of the number 666, I be seeing people on my posts when I be posting about these things all the time, trying to tell me that 666 is a good number. And the Illuminati eye is actually the eye of providence, which is good. And I'm like, motherfucker, you act like we haven't had 20 years of occult classes from our master teachers on carbon being 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons. Or that the Illuminati eye is actually the eye of Heru, which is the higher self. You know, talking about charge implosion, wave symmetry, transmogrifying, you know, pineal gland, pituitary, hypothalamus, which is the body's holy trinity. They be trying to act like they so deep in trying to explain that these things are good. Shit is fucking hilarious. I can't say it again, Stephen. We got to move on. Just play the video back. This is going to be a replay to the video. Or if you don't get it that time, Stephen, Malcolm, make sure to email me at startribe777@gmail.com. Anybody that want to chop it up off something that you heard in the video or things that have been on your mind, y'all just hit me up. People can attest I do respond. Howard says I've had people tell me the same, that 666 is good and 777 is the evil one. You're like, what? WTF, right? You say, how can it be interpreted as good Oh, okay. Roy U. Thee says 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons is carbon, the bondage of man. How can that be interpreted as good? Well, 666 carbon is the basic unit to darkness, just like how a cell is a basic unit to the body. And darkness can be bad for you. Like if I go out in darkness, I mean, I can't see shit. Or if you talk about darkness in a person's life, it can block you from seeing the truth. But darkness is also what you need in meditation. You have to go through darkness. You got to close your eyes every night. You have to go into darkness to leave the body. So darkness is like kind of like the gateway or a stargate to consciousness or something like that. So carbon within itself is like the basic unit to that. So this is neutral in itself of being good or bad, but the carbon is how the light becomes activated. It has to go through that process. It has to go through the bridge of darkness, the illumination. You know, you said that's a blue. Not all the blues are same, but that blue is the basic unit of blue K Street. That's those other blues are clones. They're fake versions of that blue K Street. It's basic physics. Those other blues aren't even really blues. They just call it blue because it looks sort of like it. The original blue is 666 terahertz. You said that long dark night, huh? Yeah, the black womb. All right. Now I want to clearly describe to you guys what evil is to you today. We're shifting gears. We just gave you the physics of it. You know, through Jujutsu Kaisen and the two opposing forces, red, blue fission, good and evil. But we're gonna shift gears. We're gonna get into more a direct hands-on to understand it. So there's a Gnostic sect called the Mandean Sabians. Some of the oldest Gnostics. They used to revere John the Baptist. They called John the Baptist Yahya or Johanna, which they feel is the form of Yehoshua archetypically. John is representative of Tahuti. The scripture of Tahuti is connected to the Emerald Tablets, also to intelligence, magic, astrology, and everything. But anyways, they teach, the Mandeans, they teach along this, along with these lessons of water being a purifying force. So like baptism to Christians, the Mandeans introduced this concept way before the Romans or the Catholics got their hands on this in the Christendom. It's called Masbuta or Masbuta. Is the key ritual of the Gnostic faith. But unlike Christians who receive the sacrament of baptism once, the Mandeans, they baptize hundreds of times over their lifetime. So when you go to Christianity, they tell you all you need to do is go under that water once. Like me, for instance, when I was 5 years old, I got baptized. I got a picture of it. I think I showed you guys a picture of it. Of me getting baptized when I was 5 at Zion Chapel number 2. They say all you need to do is do that one time, and then you're pretty much, your name is on the book of life or the whatever, the heavenly book, just by doing that. Of course, you can do another, you can pledge your life back to Christ verbally to get your life back in order if you went off the path. But usually baptisms are one time. I mean, some people do it once or twice or whatever. But prototypically, you guys understand that. So, in the case of evil, the Mandeans disputed that thought, word, and actions are the building blocks for creating mind and material existence. And this is what they call the evil thought, the evil word, the evil deed, and the endless darkness. This is coming from the Ahura teachings of the Zoroastrians, who are also a part of the Mandean sect. And they believe that the only evil is as the Yatis, which is Zoroastrian for sorcerer. Says the Yatis operates above monotheistic religions and controls and commands. And this is the four hells in the path of the earthly power. The Christian church teaches that it is Luciferian, or magic as a whole, that when utilizing a person's own creativity as the essential fuel, which ignites what's called the black flame, which is in this black flame in mythological terms, is what Luciferians call the isolation of individualized thought. And the Christians came on and they believe that, first of all, there isn't a Luciferian. Let me just say that whoever is practicing Luciferian are masquerading around the word Luciferianism, and they're trying to create an egregore out of it, because Lucifer never existed as an actual being. Lucifer and Satan are two different things. Lucifer is more closer to Jesus, I'm saying esoterically, than it is to Satan. The morning star. Jesus said, I am the morning star. Lucifer says, I'm the star of the morning, or the son of the morning, whatever he said. So, in actual, they get the word Lucifer from Hillel ben Shahar out of the Talmud or something. It's out of the Talmud or one of those Judaic books. Meaning, it means Venus. That's all it means. Lucifer is Venus. It's the planet Venus. That's all it is. So they just created this other character to add on to the spookyism of Satan, Samael, Azazel. But the Christians believe that individualized thought, or isolation of thought, gives a person the ability to go back to this word we just spoke about, to rebel against heaven, heaven's cosmic structure. And this is what causes the fall to earth. That if you don't indulge in these myths of isolation of your thought, to individualize yourself in thought, referring to Babylonian cosmology, then that creativity was introduced by the primal challenge of Tiamat, the blood of Kingu, in creating man, and the magical knowledge of Ea, or Enki, in bringing skills and the progression to humans. That's Tahuti and Prometheus. So here we have, from a theological perspective, that the creator God of universe A, the matrix dimension, doesn't want any progression from humans. That's evil. We even have different verses in the Bible that tells you that. Genesis chapter 2, 16, 17 says, you may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Now, if you ask me, that's all allegorical, metaphorical, in many senses of understanding. But nonetheless, that sounds like a fucked up thing to me. If I gain understanding of knowledge of good and evil, then the penalty is death. And people will justify that with the fairy tale that we used to live forever before sin. To me, that means we used to live forever before skin, because sin and skin, I think, is synonymous. They just switch it around a little bit, which means that if we did live forever before sin, then that means that we must have been in another dimension before the physical body. But if you're in skin, which is called the nephesh in the Hebrew scriptures, you do have an expired date. So I don't even believe in that. So you believe in it, but I don't believe in that shit. Okay, so let's get into class and session on evil. Then we'll get into the series. So there's descriptions of evil. You have positive evil, you have necessary evil, you have unnecessary evil. Then you have a dualistic view and a monistic view of evil. Then you have evil as a material principle, evil as a spiritual principle. Then finally, you have personal evil and impersonal evil. Evil in reverse is live, and I believe that evil means in its first form of understanding is separation. It's coming from the book by Thomas Carlson. Put that book up here. Thomas Carlson is on the Qliphoth too. I think it's Qliphoth and Goetic Magic, I believe. Yeah, Kabbalah, Qliphoth, Goetic Magic by Thomas Carlson. He's going to break this down. See how it's $497, and if I'm reading that accurately, it says $4,000 for a hardcover. That's crazy, yo. I'm glad I got the book. That's wild. But I tell you how important it is. I told you these people pay big money for this stuff. Pay real big money for this stuff. So, okay. Evil to the early Kabbalists is to be looked to as a indwelling within the divine emanation itself, having its enlinkment in the moment of divine judgment. So evil comes to form to the Kabbalists, who's really doing most of the rituals in the world right now is through Kabbalistic science. It has its enlinkment in the moment of divine judgment, i.e. the Spire Geburah, which is judgment on the tree of life. So when God wants to judge, it's linked to evil. It says evil is simply the quality of divine judgment, but inflamed by humans' misdeeds, such that beyond a certain point of moral failure, divine wrath, unchecked by divine mercy, would lash out among the sinners. And that's coming out of the Zohar. What I've just read to you is out of the Zohar, which the Kabbalah comes from the Zohar. It's the book of light. Kabbalah means the book of reception. Zohar is the book of light. So the Kabbalah teaches us how to receive the light. The Zohar teaches us how light functions, how it's bestowed. So, positive evil signifies an independent existence. Positive evil is evil in itself and generally absolute evil. An example of that can be found in the text of Zarathustra and Mazdaism. Ahura Mazda is who they're referring to. There are two spiritual principles. Ahura Mazda, who stands for light and the good, but also Angra Mainyu, who is linked to darkness and evil. This is coming out of the Zoroastrian mythology. This view does imply a dualistic paradigm in which evil is in opposition to good. Sometimes, however, evil can be an independent principle, but still exists inside a uniting factor, as in Zervanism, which Zervan includes both Angra Mainyu and Ahura Mazda. So in the Kabbalah, evil is viewed as an original aspect of God. It's very interesting. So you have one that is completely separate, and then you have another where evil is a uniting factor. It has to be united with good. Then you have another aspect, which is negative evil, which says that negative evil implies evil without independent existence. Negative evil is simply absence of good. And an example of that, the world of ideals, or the divine level is good, is true, and is beautiful. Hence, in Platonism or Neoplatonism, the many forms of mysticism views that evil is the absence of good, and that the evil of the world does not exist because of any actual evil, but because of the absence of good, and due to the great distance of the divine, then this evil is characterized by non-existence and absence. Negative evil is not absolute, but something relative in its relation to good. So the thought of negative evil is often accompanied by a monistic worldview. Sometimes, however, this non-being is identified with evil, as in the case of Ahriman, which is Angramanyu, and we will soon arrive at the limit of the dualistic paradigm. So very explanative stuff. Then you have necessary evil, which is based on the thought that good will only be able to rise if there is evil. And an example of that is good and righteous deeds only obtain value more frequently when they encounter resistance from evil and unrighteousness. So man has both good and evil within, and a free will to choose one or the other. Only when we choose good can man and his world reach true legitimacy. And there's another quotation. Evil comes from God directly, and it fulfills a divine function. The extent of evil in every phase of creation is decided by God according to his divine plan, which is a perfectly good one to produce righteousness. So it's saying that evil is necessary to bring righteousness forward and to test it in the most difficult circumstances to justify the existence of the world by it. That's wild. Then you have unnecessary evil, which is based on the thought that evil is worthless and without any function whatsoever. An example of unnecessary evil is the ideal that unnecessary evil does not nor have to correspond with the view of positive evil, but can be connected with a nihilistic view of evil in which it is the absence of good without any kind of meaning. So what that's basically saying that it doesn't have to have a correspondence to anything positive in the form of God is doing this to create righteousness. It means that it can be nihilistic and it just can obliterate whatsoever, whatever form it wants to take or destroy. But there's also evil. Is it on this one? Okay, so I get ahead of myself. So I can read there's the dualistic view of evil is describing two separate forces of good and evil, just like in Zoroastrianism and Mazdaism. It's Iranian religions. It's more ancient than Iranian, but they have a dualistic worldview, and the view is perhaps an easier solution to the theodicy problem, basically the God problem. Then you have the monistic view, which is describing good and evil as two sides of the same power, a view which questions the objective reality of good and evil and claims that they are the two terms of it. I didn't put it, but it's in my notes. But good and evil are in one, and to God, all things are fair and good and right. But men hold some things wrong and some things right. So a monistic view is found among those Kabbalists who view evil as a part of the personality of God. For a monotheistic religion such as Judaism, the principle of evil is placed within the only God. Then we have evil as a material principle. This thought has an affinity primarily with Gnosticism. It has similarities with certain aspects of Platonism and Neoplatonism. The highest divine and spiritual level is made of purely positive qualities such as goodness, truth, beauty, and justice. Matter is opposed to these qualities and is associated with evil, inertia, and illusions. For example, since it's coming from a Gnostic point of view, there's these things called sparks, which are souls from the divine that are imprisoned in matter. And when man is liberated from matter, these sparks of divine light are set free and good conquers evil. So it's basically saying that the physical, the world of matter is evil in this sense. Then it says evil as a spiritual principle. Within this view, evil is something above and outside matter. The material world contains qualities from both the domains of evil and domains of good. Evil as a spiritual principle can exist within God or as an independent evil force. And that's self-explanatory. I don't need no example. And then you have personal evil, which presupposes entities or powers that wish to commit evil acts. And this is an example of that. This does not suggest any principle or impersonal law of nature, but rather powers with individual personalities. In such instances, these forces are believed to be at war with corresponding powers on the side of good, and occasionally it acts as a helper for the highest power of good. So the belief in a personal evil is frequent within the frames of religion. In Kabbalistic magic describes different demons who personify evil, but who can also be contacted for magical ends. And finally, you have impersonal evil, which is a rather an abstract principle that causes evil to be experienced. An example of that, one generally comes across descriptions of impersonal evil in philosophy or mysticism. Evil may be a man's actions in certain situations or misdirected cosmic forces. That's funny. Misdirected cosmic forces. That's hilarious. But there is no free will behind evil, but it acts as an impersonal law of nature or a catastrophe. So in these collective understandings, let me set a premise for it all as a uncovering of the esoteric truth of this matter. If evil is what it is, back to what the Zohar is describing, what we're looking at is the very lashing out of divine judgment. And we can look into this as in very divine loss of temper. That's funny, but that's helps me understand it. I don't know about you guys. Like, if the divine lost its temper, it wants to be divine, and people are sinning, then it starts to whip people's ass, and maybe it gets out of control. But though here evil is still moderately mechanically moderated to ontological independences, but simply to the excessiveness of divine judgment, which is pure wrath, that also could be said to be evil, for the divine to act all crazy and start whipping on his children like that. So the production of evil is said to be an ontological, distant, quasi-independent reality that rolls in the process and the beginning of creation itself. Here, the process of creation generated an entire demonic realm, some of which we understand why these realms were even aborted through emanationism. Others of these dimensions of demonic forces simply endlessly multiply, filling out the rest of the universe with evil upon evil, even reaching up and threatening the throne of heaven itself. Ultimately, our universe becomes a battleground between divine good emanations and the divinely demonic emanations. And that battle is only settled at the very end of time with the final coming of the Mashiach, which is the Messiah. How we're doing in here? You guys still with me? Put a 1 in the chat. Looks like we picked up more people. I thought people would leave once I start reading and stuff. maybe it does help to put words on the graphics so people can read along and stuff like that. All right, so let's go to the next part. Yeah, so when I used to be in church and everything, these things weren't explained to me. I just wanted to know these things. Like, one thing I used to question, definitely when I used to see these movies or stuff in school with the Catholic stuff. Speaking of necromancy, is Catholicism practicing necromancy on calling on the saints? Because they're calling on dead people now, even though these people were supposedly lived so righteous, had so much righteousness, didn't have sex, did all of these things. Is it a form of necromancy to call on your ancestors, call on the saints, whatever it is? Well, the church deemed it that if they called the pagans for calling on their ancestors, that was a form of necromancy. So that means the church, or the original church, the Christendom, before it went into denominations and developed these things like Baptists and all of these Protestant and whatever it is, AME. These things, they don't call on saints. From where I came from, I don't think we had a denomination, but we never called on those saints or nothing like that. So let me see what y'all said. Alabama said, I always asked the Jesuits who raised me, was that eating the body and drinking the blood of another man sounds like cannibalism? And they gave unsatisfying answers. Yeah, the Jesuits, they ain't gonna say shit. Them motherfuckers is there to protect the shit. He says Saul was the first necromancer in the Bible. He used the witch of Endor. It's crazy. So yeah, these people was practicing necromancy. So they're pretty much a contradiction to what they're saying. So the fallen angels, we're talking referenced biblically in the Enochian text, because there's missing books of the Bible. You can get mad at me if you want to. It says Satan's angels was 33% of the heavens. That's interesting. It was 33% because it was 1 out of 3. The fallen angels, two out of 3, 66%. It says fallen angels terrestrial came as a result of sex with women, which has to be metaphorical because there's not no physical angels having sex with women. And Satan's angels are celestial until the fall during Armageddon. The fallen angels are said to be the ones that deceived Eve. Specifically, they named Godriel as one of the angels that deceived her. And the Satan's angels deceives the entire world. They deceive Jesus, who is Zeus. Evil, both anti-human. Okay. Now, in the Bible, it says, ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. So it's basically saying that there is a force inside of you that is greater than, when they say greater is he that is in you, whatever God, I'm saying reference to Yahweh, the demiurge, Yahweh, the creator of the physical. It says there's even a greater God in you than it is in the world. Tell you that biblically. Then it goes on to say, neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. So we know the kingdom of God is already inside of us. I don't know why people be trying to separate that, try to make the church the kingdom of God, all of that type stuff that we went through when we came up before we got into science. Corinthians 3:16, what we understand is that we are the temple. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? God is not anything man-made. Acts 17:20 24. God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is the Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in the temples made with hands. There is no God in any temples. So they can stop with that. So it says, shocking truth. These books are really sun books, or the books of Ra, worship of a sun god, worship of the sun. Outside of what we spoke about earlier, the black sun basically is nothing but the soul. It's not the sun in the sky, it's the sun inside of us, it's the God inside of us. That is where that is. So the sun, worshiping the sun, Judaism, the Torah means Tua Ra, worship of Ra. Christianity, Holy Bible, you heard this before, Helios Biblios, the sun book or the sun papers. And Islam has the Quran, the Aku, the Qur'an, the wisdom of Ra. Ra is nothing but Yau-da-Baf. There's even an Egyptian text that Ra invited all of the gods of the Egyptian mythology to a dinner and swallowed them all. That's when they said the angels fell. That's another story of a god tricking a certain group of angels, which is really the cherubims, and separate from the seraphims and the other one. But he tricked the cherubims and gave the cherubims, swallowed the cherubims into a physical dimension and made them think that they were humans living in dimension when they were the highest of the angels. Now later they say the seraphims are now the highest of the angels, but the cherubims, they got these wills that can travel the multiverse. They're hyperdimensional. These wills have these eyes that it can look every direction. They can see in all dimensions. It can see from all angles and move from one side of the universe to the other in an instant. So they started to cover all of that up. And people don't understand that people are literally housed angels. That's what we are. They even talked about that in the movie Devil Conspiracy. Even had a melanated man playing Michael to show you what the truth was. Go get the movie The Devil Conspiracy. That was a real metaphysical movie. Also plays into what I'm about to cover in Evil with the in vitro fertilization. They were trying to sell off kids that had certain DNA because they were clones manifested of important people in history. It was a secret society collecting DNA from important people in history and generating them into clones and selling them off into rich families and stuff like that. You got to watch the movie to understand. I think I played that video for you guys on here before. Yeah. Black Clover is my shit too. I broke down Black Clover before plenty of times. So let's get into Evil. So we're here to break down the show Evil. So one thing that's important is that we know, hold on, the Melkites, which were Moors, were the first church fathers. They were the first ones practicing a form of Catholicism, which was a form of Gnosticism way before. And they taught the patristic fathers the way of the Christ, which becomes later Christ, Christos. They were Moors. So these melanated men that traveled up to this area taught a certain selective group of fair-skinned people who used the information well. They became certain Gnostic sects themselves. Valentinians, Mandeans, they were all types of different sects. Came from the Melkites. And then another group came out of Rome, and they were hearing about this great religion that everybody was talking about. They didn't yet have Christianity yet. They had to form the Council of Nicaea and get Paul and Josephus to study the text of Gnosticism. And then they came in later on and said, we want to put in some other stuff from mythology from other texts and Christianize it into a version that can tell the truth, but kind of tweak it a little bit so we can get some control. It was a political agenda to get some control over the people, but they needed these certain type of people to write it because they had already studied different languages and knew how to transliterate some of the texts of the mythologies into this Christian version of it. But it was taken from the Gnostics and the Melchites. So what ended up happening, that's what gave the political agenda for the Abrahamic religions that we showed earlier, that they would indoctrinate people to worship a deity that they understood through the mythologies of ancient civilizations, put man in the beginning into a matrix cosmic test of their own spiritual and their own spiritual dwellings for them to traverse and basically pass the test to get out of the situation of having to be in a physical form. So you're here to go through this test continuously, and you go through incarnations, reincarnations until you pass the test. But you can't pass the test if you don't know that there's a test in the first place. And that's what's evil, is that you're ignorant to the test. We just gave you all different forms of evil. So one thing I noticed in the opening of the show, they're showing you the melanin dripping from this hand. Now, we know if you take this out of black and white form, this would probably be red, but they didn't have it red for a reason. They have it black because it's melanin. This is all about melanin. And how I know that the lead goddamn star of the show, they had a melanated man playing a priest. They had the brother from, what was the show he played in prior? Y'all put it in the chat, but they canceled that show, and this gives him his biggest recognition since then. He said, yeah, the Negrito and an Albedo. Right. White and black, the Negrito, the Negrito and the Albedo. You see, Luke Cage, thank you. So let's break him down real quick. Well, before we break him down, let me explain something. The show Evil is summarizing an esoteric documentary of secret societies on the Catholic Church's end and the satanic brass of elite families. What they're showcasing is that the church has been infiltrated numerous of times with demonic lineages since its inception. It's also about in vitro fertilization is being used through CRISPR to genetically edit DNA and create lineages of satanic seeds, children, more like moon children, because we covered that are to grow up and play influencing powers in the world, on the world stage, towards the elite's agenda. Now, we know that a couple of days ago, I think Adonijah sent me this, but a couple of days ago, Trump proposed to make government or insurance companies pay for in vitro fertilization treatments. You see that? Now, in the show, we know, hold on. Get ahead of myself with that. Hold on. We know in the show, if you watched it, And the episode O is for ovophobia. They're speaking about this clinic called RSM Fertility. And they were talking about one of the head actress in the show, Christian Bouchard. Her egg was stolen. They even used 11 eggs, which represents the Jochwood and Boaz. The number 11 is one of the most magical numbers, 11 and 9. But they stole one of her eggs, basically. Then we figured out one of her children was born to be a satanic head of one of the demonic families. So here's RSM Fertility. Now, what do you notice immediately? You see these colors that I've been talking about for the past 5 years. They've been shown on television a whole lot more. But those colors is the T-Rans flag. So maybe they're talking about the people who become T-Rans are probably a part of these demonic family lineages. They didn't even know they were moon children from the start. It's funny because I just figured out somebody very close to a family secretly was doing some trans pledging towards some things like going to the what is it called, Gaychella, and didn't want to tell us a certain person, and the person that I know figured it out and sent me like the page that it was, the person was on. Not to put their information out, but I would have never thought in 100 years that this person would have been T-Rans. So I think that some of these people don't even know that they're moon children. I'm probably going to be one of the biggest people to harp on this moon child thing for a minute, so bear with me. Like literally homunculus. You talking about golems, and we speak about rappers all the time, but this is probably the most open golem on the planet right now. Not just because of them, and then they'll say T-Rans phobia and stuff like that. They're showing you constantly in the shows that this is what it is. Somebody said T to the Rands flag. Appreciate that, Crypto Egregore. You said Kanye realized this too. He became a self-aware homunculus. Straight up. Yeah, that's dope. So, yeah, we'll get into it in a second. I'm going to break that down. Matter of fact, when Trump started his presidential campaign this year, he would talk, Peter Thiel was linked with it. And there was an article came out in 26 that Peter Thiel is very, very interested in young people's blood. And he got a company called Ambrosia, the startup harvesting to the blood of the young. And I think this is connected to the IVF and all of this stuff, or in the AD chrome. You know what the AD chrome is. And I noticed that the Ozempic pandemic, the company that owns Ozempic is Novo Nordisk, which has the goddess Hathor. The goddess Hathor is the parent company, and the company over that is called Wegovy, and it has the T-Rans colors. So it's all associated. Ozempic is connected to this thing too. So I don't know how deep it gets, family, but this stuff is getting out of control from what I see. But let me go back to the beginning to explain this stuff. So remember I showed you the demonic houses. So this is a map of the demonic houses in the show Evil. And I show how it's connected to different senses and impulses in the brain. And each house was connected to a event that they were investigating. They were either investigating a demon on the road. They could have been investigating the CERN portal. They're investigating social media instances where someone got demonically possessed through a certain app, and the app was connected to one of these goetic symbols. So every demonic house has a lineage from a direct bloodline who don't know that they're connected to the bloodline. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. And they were a secret society that pretty much was running the world. They even ended up buying the church that David Acosta, the parish that he worked at, so they could do a satanic ritual in it. It's like they show how powerful these people are and how well connected they are in business and other facets in the world. Her name is Christian Bouchard. Interested, her name is Christian, like Christianity. And she is torn from cheating on her husband, who goes on these mountain climbing trips. And the whole mountain climbing thing is connected to Freemasonry as well. But she wants to pretty much get into a relationship, relationship with a black man secretly, that when she knows he's a priest, but she doesn't want him to be a priest. And then you have Ben the Magnificent. He teams up with David and her. Well, they all come together around the same time to become assessors. No, he's with David before her, but they become the assessors for the Catholic Church into these demonic infestations and possessions. And then you have the antagonist Leland. We figure out in the later seasons, he was with the Catholic Church as a member of the Catholic Church or the Vatican secret society called the Entity. And he was the best remote viewer in the history of the Catholic Church. And they showed one episode that was crazy where David got taught remote viewing. He developed a ability to send his soul into another person's body and take over their body. But when he tried to do it to Leland was so advanced in remote viewing that he ended up reversing the effect and taking over David's body and trying to kill Christian, because Christian is the whore of Babylon. She's the birth of Antichrist, and she doesn't know it. It was through the IVF, the in vitro fertilization, that they stole her egg and put it in another woman so her and Leland could have a demonic lineage child together, who was supposed to be the manifestation of Satan in a physical form. He was literally Satan coming through her womb. It's crazy stuff, but this show has to be watched. This show is such deep and metaphysical information that I don't even think I can do justice of breaking it down on this video, but I think I've made you guys hip to a lot of things you probably didn't notice. So let me just start from the beginning. I'm going to go through the characters and I'm going to circle back. I'm going to circle back because there's some things I want to talk about that's connected to Gnosticism and some other stuff. So David works at this parish in New York. Now in history, there's always been ancient architecture, temples, castles, churches, royal palaces, all of these things that aligned with the stars and the magnetic poles of the earth in these sacred buildings with the purpose of aligning the four quarters of the earth that it was situated upon, which is an intersection of geomagnetic energy lines. And this is the building blocks of ancient science of religion. The question was, why would people devote themselves to any kind of religious or spiritual service? What do the priests do with this devotion in a religious ritual? Why do people devote themselves to a god? And what is the sacramental mechanism behind it? What is the meaning of initiation for a future priest or Masonic candidate who's ready to develop themselves spiritually? Juan and I discussed on a private episode on Patreon. You guys can subscribe to Patreon. There's a book by Bernard Haval called Subtle Energies, Mysteries and the Unveiling of the Subtle Energies in Ritual. The book is called Mysteries, the Unveiling of Knowledge and Subtle Energies in Ritual. And we will find out that through history, the different sacramental systems forms in an invisible matrix or subtle energy with a real and allegedly beneficent influence to the surroundings. And it is of the possibility that this real influence creates a kind of limited frequency range as a vibration temple for people popularly called the subtle energy matrix or the matrix. So we're finding hidden clues in the myth of ancient physics that priests are basically priest technicians. And there's a paleophysics that's emerging and has reconstructed from ancient philosophical writings, myths, and stories, this hermetic tradition that even Joseph P. Farrell speaks about a lot of knowledge on, esoteric philosophy. And that HARP today is a modern technological creation to limit the mental and emotional freedom of people, creating a thought prison. And that this technology has placed ancient sacramental structures to achieve the goal of controlling the population for the purposes through the elite owners of this technology. So just something to think on of why the parish was so important. That specific parish was very important because it was on a ley line that even the 60, which is the secret society of the demonic families in the show, they ended up using another company, a holding company called Congo Run, to buy the parish and push David. They wanted David on the demonic family side, but he stood strong, which is why David Acosta represents the Strength Tarot card. So a lot of things to it. Let me show you how it works. So David Acosta in gematria equals 35. And 35 is the chemical on the Royal Society periodic table, bromine or Brahmin. Maybe it's bromine. I think it might be bromine, but it's an element that has a rare property. It is the only non-metal to exist in liquid form at room temperature, but it's associated with mercury as well. That is liquid at room temperature and pressure. I used the Chaldean cipher, and this is the symbol of bromine right here. When you guys break these movies down, use the Chaldean cipher, because I explained on Patreon that the Chaldees created the most ancient language in numerology in history. Then the Egyptians adapted it so we can see it the way that we see it today. So yeah, David, he's interesting. He takes ketamine to see God. He takes psychedelics to see God. He's dealing with the loss of his lover. He loses his lover, the melanated woman. She's murdered. Or no, is she murdered? I can't even remember how she died, but she dies, which forces him to question who he is in the world, which makes him become a priest after her death. That's how he mourned. And he becomes his priest. He becomes so good that the church, and they figured this out later in the season, that the church just wanted a DEI hire. They wanted a black, basically a black priest to be head over that parish in New York. And he was selected to be groomed to move up the ranks. But they already knew they were going to sell the parish anyway. And he figured that out. So he was like, oh, they just wanted the black face. Then they were going to sell it anyway and send him wherever, just using him as a puppet. He figures that out later in the season. But what you'll notice is when you use the Chaldean cipher, you're going to get numbers that connect directly to the tarot deck in numerology. So if you add 3 plus 5, you'll get 8. And the 8th tarot card is the strength card. On the strength card, so the strength card is about having control over your inner urges and wants. The want represents the lion, and also being confident and brave to go near the lion and touch it, which is what the card is displaying. But you'll notice that in the series, there was a demon that he was wrestling with the whole entire 4 seasons. And it took on the form of Christian Bouchard, because once she's introduced as a assessor of the group, he starts to sexually want her. But he can't touch her because priestesses that work for the Catholic Church, they're forbidden to have sex again, or to get married, or to have children. So this demon, which Sister Andrea, which is a very important character in the story. Let me find Sister Andrea. She's a very important character in the story. She discovers that she can see demons. That's her ability. So she sees this mosquito demon sucking his spirit from him. And it's actually, he can't see demons. He doesn't have that gift, but he has the gift to speak directly to God. And he has the remote viewing. He has a lot of different gifts. So he can speak to God. God can send him symbols to solve certain things. And he has a very rare ability of remote viewing. It's even beyond remote viewing. He can take over somebody's body anywhere in the world just by traveling through his mind. I mean, is that melanin? I don't know, but in the show, it was some real crazy stuff. He says Satan is described as a lion in the Bible. So what's interesting is that the woman that is taming what is known as the Nephesh in the Hermetic Kabbalah is the animal soul that people have that causes them to act like wild animals, fulfilling their base desire. So the woman in this picture represents the higher consciousness, which is called the Neshama in Hebrew, which overrides and civilizes us. So the strength card is the lady and the lion is relying on each other for what they consider as strength. And this whole show is about David and Christian's relationship. So he is the lion. He is facing his urges, and his urge is actually the woman, the lady, which is Christian Bouchard. But it's also his own temptations of why he became a priest in the first place. He's questioning it because the more and more he figures out that the church is doing demonic stuff, just like the satanic demonic families of the 60s, he's questioning why he became a priest in the first place. All right, so next, and Grace is very important as well. I didn't make a slide for her, but I slid her in at the last minute. She's the priestess. I don't know which card she is. I didn't do her. Let me do that real quick. What is her name? Is Grace Ling. What is her Chaldean? So she would be 7. What is the 7th tarot card? Okay, she would be associated with the Chariot. I think Christian is as well. Somebody's associated with the Chariot as well. I can't remember who was, but let me make sure that's her name. Grace Ling, Evil, CBS. Yeah, her name is Grace Ling. Sometimes you put their real name in, they'll give you something else significant. Let me see what her real name is. What is the second tarot card? Yeah, I think that makes more sense. I think they're hiding her her real presence in the show by mixing up her character from her real name, because she's definitely the high priestess in the show. That's who she is for real. Now, Grace is a prophet. She's able, you can ask her anything, and Grace is going to tell you what's going to happen, and it's going to be accurate. So the church sends them to investigate her because she's able to have 70% accurate readings on events that have occurred. The other 30%, it hadn't occurred yet. So they weren't able to assess that in the series. So she could have been 100% accurate. They just didn't know. So the church wanted to know because there's something called the Provelia Codex that has some Armageddon future events that these priests predicted in the future. That's around the time frame that they're in, about the 60 demonic families. And she was able to draw through remote view. She could draw the map that's in the Provelia Codex through her mind. So the church actually, when she gets sent off the ice, they get her out of ice and send the entity, the secret order, or it's kind of like the CIA of the Vatican, to protect her and give her whatever she wants, because they needed her spiritual gifts to see what was going to happen in the world. So she's a very important character. Then you have Christian Bouchard. Yeah, she's the Chariot for sure. She's a Chariot in the show. Equals 50. Her name equals 52. As we saw, the 7th tarot card is the Chariot. She's connected to the element tellurium. It's funny because the word tellurium is borrowed from the Latin word tellus, which means Mother Earth. And she is the only mother in the show, in the series. She has these, 4 kids, ends up being 5 kids, because she has to baptize the Antichrist after they stole her egg and made another woman birth her child, her and Leland's child. She has to take all of that on. But if I read all of this stuff, we'll be here all night, guys. So I'm gonna go through it fairly fast. So the Chariot card is associated with Cancer. That's the cardinal sign, the front runner, the leader, the pioneer, the person running the meeting. checks out with chariots. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. She's very emotional in the show. Cancer is also a water sign. So her control is very fragile in the show. She's very fragile. She has impulsive reactions, just like how she kills a guy for good reasons, but she was too impulsive and had to confess to David in like season 2 or 3 that she killed someone, which is pretty crazy in the show. Then you have, hold on, let me get through this. Oh, there was something that was interesting, that the story of Tellurium is associated with vampires, or this a chemical to repel vampires, because the demon took the form of her. It was literally like a vampire sucking David, sucking energy out of David. Sister Andrea found it. So his full name is Enos Ben Shakir in the show. That's 41. The 41st element is niobium, and he's associated with the Hierophant card. But the funny thing is that if you look up his name by itself, Ben Shakir equals 26 in Chaldean gematria, like God. Now, throughout the show, this guy is like the main agnostic person. He doesn't believe in God. He makes it known repetitively throughout the series that he doesn't believe in God. The only reason he doesn't believe in God is because his mother was a practicing Muslim of Islam, and she died, which was very traumatizing to him early in life. And he developed some type of hate towards religion, or he stopped believing from his childhood. And then he gets, connected with the Islam form of demons called jinns. He gets connected with a jinn after he gets zapped with the super ion beams from the CERN particle accelerator on accident, which makes this jinn become real to him. So it's something they were connecting science to demons as well. But the chemical symbol of, hold on, no, I'm on the wrong thing. Hold on. Oh yeah, Ben also means sun in Hebrew. Ben means sun. 4 + 1 is 5. The 5th tarot card is the Hierophant. The Hierophant shows a religious figure sitting between 2 pillars in a sacred temple. It appears to be a bridge in front of the Hierophant, showing a supernal triangle that's connected to a path associated with divine will from above, and hearing and transmitting both without bias. So I highlighted without bias because his job is to give a clear cut. He hears what the situation is of what the church is trying to assess. They go on the assessment. And since he doesn't believe in the religious supernatural of anything, he believes only in science, that he gives a unbiased assessment, which helps the team. You have one person who works for the church. You have another person, Christian. I meant to mention that she's a psychologist. And then you have Ben, who's the science guy. Now, the Hierophant is representative with the Hebrew vowel, which is Taurus in astrology. Vowel means to nail or to join. So the Hierophant joins the macrocosm with the microcosm, the spiritual seeker. Now he wears a tinfoil hat, and I thought that's connected to the spiritual seeker because they call people who's associated with spirituality, they say that we wear the tinfoil hat. And he actually begins to believe halfway through the show, after going through all of these instances of seeing the supernatural. So it's very, very interesting. Taurus is ruled by Venus, which is the planet in which the moon is exalted, the most potent, so it gives the subconscious the meditative quality of the Hierophant. So the hearing talked about above is concerned with the information coming from spiritual realms, and he begins to see the jinn in his mind spiritually. He also has to go to a melanated woman to do an exorcism of his girlfriend. I thought that was interesting. Then you have Sister Andrea Martin. Sister Andrea equals 36. It's very interesting because we know 666 is the 36 triangle number. So they have the most holy person out the show have this 36 connected to her. 3 plus 6 is 9. The ninth tarot card is the Hermit card, which is very much how she's active in the show. The Hermit is a masculine form of Virgo. The astrological sign associated with the Hermit is Virgo, the feminine. Virgo is associated with body, health, personal development, ruled by Mercury, which is exalted in Virgo. Mercury is the logos, the word, the will of God, which implies creativity or the attributes to the Hermit. So Mercury to God is said to guide the souls of the dead to the underworld, and she's guiding everyone in the show to heaven. She's trying to be a good Christian, so to speak, but she has this magical power to see demons. And you notice the Hermit holds the lamp so he can see. He can see beyond what people see. The Hermit is also associated with willpower of our higher consciousness, which works silently within us to take us out of the ignorance of Hades or the lower consciousness. So she's helping raise the consciousness specifically to David Acosta. Andrea is the only person David can go through because she's the only other person he knows that can see how he sees, which are things they both can barely understand. But the Hermit is also connected to Chokmah on the Kabbalah, which is wisdom, the second Sephiroth to the tree of life, which is the Father, Yod, which is God, the Father, and the Tetragrammaton. And also she's associated with the 36 element Krypton. Now look at this. Krypton, it says the name Krypton itself means hidden potential. Krypton, it signifies something concealed or unseen, often interpreted as representing a hidden aspect of oneself, a latent ability that can be unawakened. And that's exactly what she was. If you follow this formula with the Chaldean cipher, you can really, really break these shows down. You can break these shows down. It says carbon is organized exactly like the Star of David. Yeah, David is very much a connection. You know, Jesus comes out of the bloodline of David. Now, this next character we break down is this dude right here, man. Leland was hilarious to start the show. Let me go down. Where's Leland at? Maybe maybe I passed him. Hold on. Yeah, here he goes. Leland is hilarious to start the show. He's a big breakdown. First of all, his name equals to 60. That Leland Townsend equals 60 in Chaldean. I'm like, wow. That is amazing because the show is about a demonic secret society called the 60. That should be a clip right there. That should go viral. His name equals 60. Leland Townsend. Yeah. That's his name. Equals 60. Now, Dr. Leland Townsend, because that's his full name, equals 66. So you got dysprosium and neodymium. two chemicals associated with it, but the two tarot cards connected to Leland is the Lover's card and the Devil card. The Lover's card and the Devil card. The Lover's card is 12th card tarot. The Devil card is the 6th card. So, my bad. The Lover's card is 6 tarot. The Devil is the 15th tarot card. 1 + 5 is 6 anyway. So it's a reflection. And you notice that when you look at the Lovers and the Devil card, they're the same card, but it shows that when these enlightened form of them, they're with the angel, but when they're with the devil, you see them grow horns and they become chained to each other. There's a lot of alchemical science in the tarot deck. Dysprosium is a chemical, atomic number 66. Now, the reason why I highlighted that, if you look up what the Greek word dysprostos is, where dysprosium comes from, it means hard to get. It was hard to get this guy. They tried everything to get this guy. They only get him in the last episode. They did everything to try to stop him. They could not stop this dude. And I also highlighted the Neodymium. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it comes from the Greek word didymos. It means twin. And I noticed that him and the demonic psychologist that he would visit, they both were psychologists, and he ends up killing this psychologist and actually eating him. Some real crazy stuff with him in the show, but it was reflective of him being twin, just like in the Devil card, because I think this represented the devil. So in the show, he was personifying the actual devil. They never say it though. But he was a hard motherfucker to get though. But he becomes the head of the 60. This is the map of the 60 here. He eventually becomes the head of all of the demonic families after he kills the previous head. He's, like I said before, he's the entity's best remote viewer in history. He even reveals to David the dichotomy of the church to the demonic families, as I've been saying. And yeah, I highlighted that it means twin. His twin was the psychologist who was the goat demon. Okay. And he had another twin in the show. He had 2 twins. I think both were projections of him. One of my favorite characters was George. George was hilarious. He was a freaky looking demon that visited Christian in her dreams. He had some funny episodes though. He did a lot of comedy, and he would introduce the next episode. I think in season 2, it was always his voice introducing you to the episode. But I think this was a form of Leland as well, because Leland wanted to make a child, and George will only show up in her dreams first as a connected to her sexual likings. George would appear for that. So the interesting thing is the connection he has to the tarot cards, the Lovers and the Devil. The Lovers are Gemini. The Lovers tarot card is all about choice and the need for understanding juxtaposing sides in order to effectively make decisions, like in Gemini. The Devil card is associated with the planet Saturn, correlating with the zodiac earth sign Capricorn, and Capricorns are said to be the enemies of Gemini because Gemini, Leo, and Aquarius, all 3 of them tend to act blindly. And Capricorns are said to be jealous of Geminis because Geminis don't like to compete for the spotlight. So Geminis are said to thrive off of the change and constant stimulations. And that's what he was that's what Leland does. But the interesting thing, if you look up the comparison of Capricorn and Gemini, it says that when you look into both the connections of the goat in Capricorn and the twin of Gemini, they represent the serving. Okay, they represent that the twins of Gemini end up in some way serving the selfish Capricorn, but it represents a self-sacrifice of one kind of another, and it's bound to be present in whatever relationship there is with a Capricorn and a Gemini, whether it be within the realm of the family group, business, friendship, or lovers. But then it says that in this relationship between the two, someone has to sacrifice when two people are as essentially different in character as these two. So I noticed that with Leland, it was all about sacrificing somebody. In these two cards, the lovers and the devil, when you look at their alchemical connection, astrological wise, is about sacrificing as well. So it's real crazy. Okay, so some episodes that I think people need to look into, definitely the doppelganger episode. They were showing that everyone has a clone. They had a cloning episode in there. They were showing that there's a demonic presence in people cloning other people, which we know that is some freaky stuff. Then the other characters, they got interested in this new app developed by the demonic company of the 60s, the 60 company called DF. DF is the company that the Satanic Secret Society own, and they pretty much own all of the apps that people were being possessed demonically by. One of the apps was called Doppelganger, or something like Doppel. What is it called? Find My Doppel. And Ben finds out he's a happy family man. His doppelganger or his clone is a family man. David, referring back to the lion, he's a UFC fighter in another part of the world. David and the lion, isn't that something? And then you have Christian. Now, she was just some singer somewhere. I didn't even find her picture. I just wanted to see the name of the app. She's a singer. Now, what else? Before I get into that, I'll close out on that. But just some things that happened during the season. They were showing that they were draining AD Chrome. Y'all know what I mean when I say that? They showed that these apps that these children are on, that there's a demonic family behind it, that the pig is representative of Leland. Leland was trying to get close to Christian's daughter because Christian didn't know she had a child from the RSM fertility, the IVF facility. My bad, the IVF facility, that they wanted her to have this this child for the demonic family to groom. So Leland would find whatever app that the children were on to try to manipulate them or get close to them. He said swine takes 33 weeks of gestation. That's crazy. This was the child. Her name was Lexi. It's Lexi there. They also had some stuff on shrinking heads. I know that's a form of voodoo or whatever type of black magic that is. They found for Christian's mother to be initiated into the Satanic Secret Society, she had to like kill 2 people, and then she had to take this shrinked head of a former demonic lineage family member home. And the girls, Christians, little girls found it and they try to flush it down the toilet. Then they showed the demonic energy behind it. The toilet started to, ooze out blood. And this thing like happened the whole entire 3 seasons. They were trying to stop that bathroom from acting up. Yeah, some real dark, sympathetic magic was going on. Sister Andrea was able to see demons as an example, how she could see the demons in the show between this 2 married couple having problems with sex. Here's George. She was seeing George connected with Leland. That's why I made the connection after that. I never saw George with Leland before this episode, so I knew that that was a manifestation of him. The psychologist connected to Christian, Kurt. Dr. Kurt was very pivotal in the show, but he sold his soul to the Satanists. I'll show later. This is the entity, which is the Secret Service of the Vatican, locating the demonic houses. Like I said, each of these apps, they're showing you that the apps are really programming people's minds. And there's a secret society behind the agenda of everything. One of the episodes, they capture Christian's husband and begin to drain him of AD chrome. Literally. I'm speaking literally too. Leland told Kurt if he wanted to write his book, Kurt wanted to write a book on everything that the assessors, David, Christian, and Ben was going through. He wanted to write a book or a novel about their findings because he found it interesting. So he told him to put this sigil on a candle and then cut his finger. And he started to write the book. Try to make the book best-selling. This is when they got Grace back from ICE. This is a picture of the husband for the first time seeing demons. Their house, the Christian Bouchard's house, was filled with demons, especially after flushing that head down the toilet. So they were showing a meeting. This is a meetup of all the demons in the house. Also, they had the jinn meeting up with the demons as well, to witness the birth of Christian and Leland's child in another dimension. They also had an episode with the God helmet. You got to see that episode. Ben started crying because he saw his mother in another dimension. I always wanted to know about the God helmet, everything going on with that. This was interesting because this was when they were trying to get Christian's mother initiated in the Satanic Secret Society, but they showed an all-white party, and he was talking to the mother about wearing white for the all-white party, but she disregarded. I don't know what happened, but she ended up wearing all red. But you hear about the devil in the red dress and all of that connection. But she gets recruited, and this is the guy that had the shrinking head. But it also speaks to them parties with the guy. What's the guy that be having Meek Mill and all of the rappers at the party? Y'all can put it in the chat. Whatever that guy name is, he be having all of those. He has an all-white party every year. It's probably telling you who's at those parties. It's a picture of the jinn. Let's see where you go. Okay, so let's see if I'm at the end or what I would do. Okay, no, I want to talk about Saint Monica. So in the early episodes, I think season 2, David is trying to figure out this miracle that happened in New York. Basically a building was built near a sinkhole and ends up collapsing. But everyone who survived the collapse ended up telling the church and the assessors that there was a woman that wasn't a physical entity. They didn't call it an angel. Some did call it an angel if they were religious, but they said this woman guided them out of the collapsing building and saved their lives. So the church wanted them to figure out who this woman was, and they think it was the church wanted them to figure out if it was this Sicilian saint named Saint Monica. I think, no, her name was something else. They ended up, it wasn't this Sicilian saint, because when David had a vision that night, the Sicilian white saint did come to him and tell him, I can't remember exactly what she told him, but she told him something. But then later she came back as a black woman. And this confused him. He was like, wasn't you white yesterday? Then it made him question psychologically whether, since him coming into the church, all of the depictions of angelic beings were always white. So he felt like maybe he had been indoctrinated that some angelic beings could have been melanated. Now, this was interesting because when they saw her, they figured out that the actual angel that saved everyone was called Saint Monica. It was a saint. It was a real Moorish woman. And they call her the angel of the beginning. The angel of the beginning. And let me see in my notes, what did I have? I had something on this. Hold on, guys. Okay, so it showed in the episode that the church has been covering up melanated depicted angels in holy books, because when he asked the father of the parish, why are you guys no longer interested after I told you that the angel that people were saved by is basically a melanated woman? The church father was pretty much like, don't ask me that. I'm gonna just put you on another case. Then he gets mad. He was like, is it something dealing with race or racism? And then he's like, well, you don't want to know, basically. You don't want to know what it is. So it is referring to something racist or something like that. So I think, one, the lamb represents the Holy Spirit. I think it represents the Holy Spirit. And the melanated woman represents the Black Madonna in the church. You know, the Pope worships the Black Madonna. And Black women or melanated women in the world also have the Eve gene. And she's called the angel of the beginning. The episode is called the angel of the beginning. So maybe it's connected to the Eve gene. So I just thought it was an interesting connection to it. I thought it was interesting. And another thing that we talked about on Patreon is the metaphysics to what the woman of Babylon is. Now, this is going to be my main note, and I'm going to get ready to close out because it is getting late. When I don't hear no noise in my house, I get worried now or in my place. So the angel, okay, hold on. So remember I told you about the RSM fertility or facility. I keep saying fertility because it's about IVF, in vitro fertility. Where's the picture? Oh, here it goes right here. This is the interesting thing. It just came to me from the episode I was watching. Babylon is called the whore in biblical canon. And Babylon is supposed to birth the Antichrist. Now, Saint Monica tells David, woe to Babylon. She says like 33 days. She says like something like 32 days from now, you will see something significant. Now, Babylon, like I said, is supposed to birth the Antichrist. The whole entire show is about Christian being the mother of the Antichrist and how it leads up to that. But I think that there is a collective group of women in the world that are here to house and rebirth the genetic code of counterfeit souls. In the Nag Hammadi library, you can simply look this up. Look up Nag Hammadi library. This is what they dug up that changed Christianity and all these other religions forever after they found this. Look up counterfeit spirits, and then you'll figure out. You see this right here. It says they created a counterfeit spirit who resembles the spirit who had descended so as to pollute the souls through it. Angels change themselves in their likeness. So you don't hear this counterfeit spirit in nothing else but the Nag Hammadi library. So I think that the Whore of Babylon is a group of women, not based on race, and their genetic pool is being used to bring counterfeit souls to pollute the actual true souls that are down here. So it's kind of like to keep the software of this universe running. And I explained it on Patreon. It's like nanobit processors, and each Babylon whore or Antichrist child metaphorically births a counterfeit soul, just like Sophia did with Yaldabaoth in the beginning, etherically, as the great mistake in Gnosticism. So the more counterfeits generated is like scalability. It gives archons a way to measure itself in the human gene pool, like a system's ability to decrease or increase in performance, and the performance being maintaining the illusion. And I think the stars are simulating the process of the software. So put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense to you guys. You say, y'all, okay, y'all, it's 4 a.m. Where you guys at? Yeah, we're gonna close out right now, but I just want to make sure you guys understand that it was a pretty long video today. You said, are they mocking the virgin birth with in vitro? Probably so, Roy. That's a good point. Virgin birth, in vitro. That's a good point. I didn't look at that angle. So it makes me think of the Black Madonna. The Madonna is similar to Monica. Right. You say, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone. That's going to be it for today. You guys can go to patreon.com/THE_spiritual shade room. If you want to get a video every week instead of once a month. We are going to have another video for Dr. Arlene Bay on Sunday, though. That'll probably be the rest for the rest of this month. Much love to everyone. So make sure subscribe to Patreon, donate to Cash App or PayPal if you can to keep the channel running. We don't get much donations on here. And we will be back on Sunday, family. So with that, I'll report y'all. I'll Oshulu. I'll say to the ancestors. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.